welcome once again to another exciting episode of Javier in the Air. So, a lot of things packed into this show. No interviewee yet. I had a couple on the line, but weren't able to mesh together. But still an exciting episode. And thank you everybody for continuing to watch. I know my interaction is usually really good with someone, so I'm still trying to line up people for interviews, and I'm still trying to get a guest host. So you too can be on my show as a guest host where we interact and everything. So a lot of things I want to talk about. First of all, two, two in the hole. I got my second shot this week. It was Pfizer for everyone. So those of you who have been letting me know what their reaction was as far as Moderna goes, I hadn't really talked to anybody who had Pfizer, and so Moderna people were telling me that the second shot had really kicked their butt, and they were down for the count for a day or two. Very few people didn't have any adverse reaction with Moderna. However, I was a Pfizer person, and my brother Robert was a Pfizer person, and basically we had no problem whatsoever. So sore arm. I personally think the first dose actually hurt more in my arm than it did in my than the second dose. So for those of you who haven't gotten the shot yet, hopefully you're scheduled for appointments. And if you do, if you get, well, either way, if you get Pfizer or Moderna, some of the tips and tricks that you need to do is when you get home, uh, you should probably start feeling it in your arm because they will sit you there for 15 minutes and make sure you don't have a really adverse reaction like anaphylaxis or anything like that. What I did was whatever arm you have sore. So this is my right arm as this is mirrored. So what I was doing was constantly getting motion in there throughout the day. So every hour or so, I would do something like that because it felt like someone had taken a bat to my arm. So the solution for me, I found, was to continue my movement in that arm, kind of work out that muscle a little bit. I won't go into the scientific background as to why your arm's hurting like that or what's going on in your system, but it's not a bad sign. It's something that should be happening. So the best thing to do is just try to alleviate the pain. Now, if you have any real serious pain, definitely contact your doctor or contact the clinic where you got the shot, or your health provider, somebody that will be able to walk you through. But if you're just having some slight pain, like someone, pa into your arm, and not anything too crazy, then you should be able to just do what I was doing, get some movement in there. And by day two on the first dose, the pain was less, and by day three it was gone. And for this one, by day two, it was almost gone, almost entirely gone. And by day three, I didn't have any pain whatsoever. I felt great. So if you're gonna get out there, please get out there. Please get vaccinated. I won't go into how herd immunity works, but I will tell you that a large percentage of the population has to be vaccinated first. So if you're one of those who are like, well, I don't have to get it because everybody else is getting it, wrong. Go and get it. If you want to fight me on it, you know where I live, and I play a really mean game of Scrabble, winner take all. Okay, so virus gone. So I am vaccinated. I am ready to go. They say about 14 days, and you're fully not immune, but you're fully vaccinated against what's out there. There's still a lot of variants, but I'm just going to go from there. Okay, vaccine done. So sorry about the shirt. I've been doing a lot of projects this weekend. The farmers, Farmer James and Farmer Zaida, have been working this weekend as well. So we've been getting a lot of stuff in. Some of the things I want to update you on are the bench project, the sun tea, the what else I got out there? The beer label, With Farmer James and Farmer Zyda, they're doing the kale chips. They also had a little wooden tabletop that they did as well, which I'll show you a picture of. And then we're gonna get into the beer. So I have a not a challenge, but I have something to bring up that I find very interesting on the beer side. So we'll go with that. Okay, so without further ado, I'm gonna send it over to Farmer James and his camera woman, Farmer Zyda, and they're gonna show you how they do kale chips. Now the kale that they're doing, fresh picked from their garden. So let's check it out.
Hi, this is James again, the urban farmer, and today I wanted to show everybody what we've been doing with our kale from the garden, and what we're going to do is make kale chips. So, as you can see here, I picked the kale this morning from the garden just as a tip. Picking greens in the morning is always better because they have retained more moisture. But so we picked those, we de-stemmed them, kind of broke them up into smaller pieces, washed them, dried them off, and now they're ready for the prep work. So what we're going to be using today is an oil spray. This one here is a avocado oil with garlic in it. You can also use a canola or any other oil that you like. But the spray bottles usually work best. And then we're going to use kosher salt. And then we've got nutritional yeast here, which we're going to sprinkle into it. Kind of gives it a little cheesy taste. So, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing we want to do is I kind of want to get some of this coated with oil. So I'm going to get my oil spray. And I'm going to spray some on there. And then I'm going to get some more out of here. And put a little spray on that. And it doesn't take a lot of oil to get them crispy, but you do want to get them coated pretty good. And then after you get the oil on there, we're going to sprinkle our kosher salt on there. And then we're going to sprinkle our nutritional yeast over the top. And since there's so much in here, you really have to work this with your hands. We found that's the best way to do it. So you just want to get in there and kind of work it around, get the oil on everything, the nutritional yeast on everything, and the salt everywhere. So just kind of work that with your hands. You can kind of mush it up. It's not going to hurt the kale at all, but you kind of just want to work that until you see you've got this shiny texture, meaning you've got all of your oil on your kale. And then once we do that, then we're going to come over here, and I've got our oven on 350, and so we want to take this, and this is just a non-stick cookie sheet, and we want to just kind of spread it around to where you just really have a single layer of kale. And then what we're going to do is once we get all these pans full, we're going to take them and you put them in the oven, and you start cooking them in 15-minute increments. And so every 15 minutes you want to take them out and see how crunchy they are. And so if they're still a little soggy, then you want to put them back in and do another 15 minutes. And then it usually doesn't take any longer than that, but it kind of depends on how big you have made your chips, as to how long it's going to take for them to cook. I need to get some more on this pan, otherwise I'm going to run out of room here. Okay, we got that pan ready and this one. So looks like we got a lot of kale today. So got that, and now I'm going to come over here and we're going to do another batch. Okay, and again, I'm going to start out. I want to spray these with oil really well, and that's about gone. Rest of those in there. And let me go ahead and get a new bottle. Spray those. Okay. And get a little more kosher salt on there. And some more nutritional yeast. And I usually do a pretty heaping tablespoon of nutritional yeast for a bowl this size. So now we're gonna mix that up like we did before. Make sure we get the oil and salt and yeast mixed in there really good. Okay. And all right, we're going to go ahead and fill these up. And what you might have to do as you cook this is with a metal spatula. Sometimes you may have to kind of move some of it around. Some of the smaller pieces will also crisp up faster than the larger ones. So you may have to remove those a little earlier. And then we'll go ahead and get these in the oven, and then once they're ready, we'll come back and show you the end result. Okay, we're back. So this one's been in there for 15 minutes, and as you can see, some of them are toasted, but some of them are still a little damp, the ones that are a little green. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through and some of these, and we kind of flip them to get them cooked all the way through. And we ended up doing this with each pan. So that looks good. So we're gonna put this back in the oven. And that was 15 minutes. So it really went fast this time. So probably another 5 minutes is gonna do it. And then we'll pull them out again, so. All right, back again. We ended up only doing them for another 4 or 5 minutes. So total, it was about 19, 20 minutes for everything. You can see they're all really crispy now. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our spatula again, and we're gonna just loosen them up off of the pan. And they're also very crumbly like this too. So we just want to take them and put them in our container. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, so that was Farmer James and camerawoman slash farmer Zaida bringing you the kale chips. So, and I've had those. I didn't have the ones that they're showing right there. It's got a bit too much salt in it for me, but I tried the other ones they did, and they were really good. It's almost like it's kind of like the consistency of cotton candy. So because they're so thin and they just almost kind of melt on your mouth, but they're really good flavor, and that where uh, the denser part of the kale, you get that it's and you get to chew on it a little bit before it vanishes on your tongue, but it's really good. So, all right, so now I'm going to show you a couple of different projects here with some images, and then I'm going to show you actually I'm going to show you the tabletop project that James and Zida did using the purple from the bench stain project that I've been doing. Then I'm going to catch you up to date on actually I'm going to show you the sun tea project that I did. Just a quick thing. Some hazelnut cookies, and then we'll get into the bench project. So all that together, so sit tight. Here we go. So here's the tabletop thing that James was doing. This is a round cutout of birch, and he applied the pre-stain conditioner to it, and then he applied the purple, aka cayenne stain that I had from Minwax on there. So he did it two coats. The first one he said was really light, and then after that it said it turned out really good. So that was the table project. Okay, so I was given a bag of hazelnuts, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with them, but I know I wanted to try to do maybe some little goodie bags for the brunch because I'm going all out because it has been a year since I've really done anything. And again, the brunch is having social distance. Everyone who's going to be there has been vaccinated, so we're all good on that. So I don't want to hear anything else about it. It's good to go. So I made these hazelnut cookies. You toast the hazelnuts, you remove the skins by just rubbing them in a towel, and then you pulse and mash them up with some sugar, and I use coconut sugar and butter, and just a little pinch of salt, and that's pretty much it. And so it forms this dough that you form into like a log, and then you cut the log crosswise into these shapes. So I got 23 out of the first one. I made a double batch, of course, so I should have about 40. It said it made 40, but I don't think it did. So obviously I didn't. Either I cut them too thick or I don't know. We'll see. So I'm going to cook them. Okay, so here's my tea project. As you see here, I got the tea going. This is 10 bags of orange pico. It's been sitting on the sun here, let's see, probably about 6 hours. And I also cut up some oranges and put that in there, so it's going to taste really good. Oh, I also added some fake sugar in there. Okay, so I didn't have a video of the other cookies. It got late last night, and I was a little tired, and so I just cooked them. So you bake them 350. My oven is still a little weird. I'm trying to see if I can figure out why it's not, when it says it's 350, it's 350. So it says 12 to 15 minutes. I actually cooked them, I'm sorry, it says from 11 to 13 minutes. I actually went 17 minutes and 19 minutes on there. The first one I did 19 minutes, realized that maybe I cooked them for a little bit too long, so I cut it back 2 minutes. So then you pull them out of the oven. It says to cook them one sheet at a time, but I was like, I don't really have time for that, and I have 4 cookie sheets that I'm going to make. So I put in 2 at a time, baked them. That could be maybe why it throws it off. I doubt it. Put them on as soon as you pull them out, you put them on a cooling rack. Let them cool for a little while. Now remember, these are a type of sugar cookie, so they are supposed to harden. It's not burnt. They weren't burnt by any means, but they're a nice hard little cookie. They're really good. And here we go. There's the cookie. There you see. Maybe I went too thick, but I like them this thick, so they're hard. I had them with my coffee this morning, so just straight up black coffee, and I was like, I really like to have a little something on there. And then I was like, wow, I made all these cookies. And I'm gonna give away all those other cookies for people who are asking me how I stay away from stuff when I'm baking. I give it all away. So I actually saved about 3 cookies for myself, and I had 2 this morning. This is the last one I remember that I had to get this on there. So here's the cookie itself. Came out fantastic. They taste delicious. If you've never had a hazelnut cookie before, I highly recommend them. I will be making these for the brunch next week. My first brunch and first actually outing type thing in like a year, like I said in the video. So here we go, just so you can see me eating it so you don't think I'm lying. Now, this is a sugar butter cookie, so it actually does melt quite on the palate, but you get that nice toasted hazelnut um, taste from it. The texture is just like that of a sugar cookie. Mm, so good, even if I have to say so myself. Though I did get the thumbs up from James and Zyda, so I was over there, or James came over here this morning, and I gave him some. He said they're fantastic, especially with coffee, just like I recommend. So I will post the recipe at the end, and we'll move on to the next project. Okay, so here's my tea project. As you see here, I got the tea going. This is 10 bags of orange pico. It's been sitting on the sun here, let's see, probably about 6 hours. And I also cut up some oranges and put that in there, so it's going to taste really good. Oh, I also added some fake sugar in there. I'm drinking some tea, drinking some tea, drinking that sun tea. Oh shit. Hey everybody, sorry about that. I forgot I started it before I went to get the tea. So here's, again, interrupting the project so you can see. There's the tea itself. Really dark. I really like that orange pico. For those of you who may not be familiar, McDonald's uses orange pico. I researched this a couple years back. And at least at the time, that's the type of tea that they use. I don't know what the significance is. I don't know if it's good for most people, or people sneer down at the orange pico. I don't care. I like my sun tea to be orange pico. So orange pico, some fake sugar, and some oranges that I cut up in there. I let it sit out in the sun for about 6 hours. And for those of you who may not live in Texas, I know there's a couple of you. Texas sun, I don't know if it's anywhere else, but I mean, it's only 80 degrees over here. My glass container was hot. Even though I know it'd been out there 6 hours, and you're going, yeah, it's been out there 6 hours in the sun. But that was hot. It was like stifling. And so I'm still drinking it hot like it's hot tea. And it's so good. I recommend it. If you want to show me your shots of the sun tea that you do out here, or where you're part of the country, wherever you are, be my guest and tell me what you put into it. So here we go. Oh, so good. Sun tea. So here I am, Saturday, April 24th. I am just about done with the bench project. So as you see here, the blue stain actually turned out to be more of a paint that came in there. So that was rather interesting. And then another interesting thing is, if you see this purple, this stain was called cyan. I'm sorry, cayenne, not cyan, cayenne. And it turned out purple, but I liked it. So I put like 3 coats on that, sanding in between each coat. For the blue, because it came out more of a paint, I just put it on there, didn't sand it, put a second coat on there to make sure. And then I also put layers of shellac on everything. Right now I'm finishing up this wood, this or the top of the bench, I should say. I painted the bottom of the bench white, which is why you see some white here, which is my bad. I'll learn one of these days. And so I put pre-stain on everything. So what that does is closes up the pores a little bit and allows for more of the grain to come through. So I'm going to have probably 2 or 3 coats of this. This is the first coat. The third coat, or maybe in the shellac itself, I'm going to try some glow-in-the-dark powder that I've had for years. And I'm going to try to see if it'll actually glow in the dark. So I'll get back to you on that and see how that goes. That's the bench project. And here is the final product, the bench project, I should say. So here is, this is the coat. I know Sam asked me, this is called red mahogany. And this is 3 coats of mahogany on here. You see some white. Like I said, I made the mistake of getting some white in underneath when I was doing this upside down. Here's the blue, that's called Royal. And there's the pink, purple that I was telling you about that they say is cayenne, but it's coming out purple. So I put 3 coats of stain, sanding in between each coat. And then I also put on shellac, also for the bench as well. Now what I did, I'm going to come show you over here, is I had these glow-in-the-dark powders that you can see are different colors. There's orange, and there's pink, and there's blue, and I use the green. Now, from everything I read, doesn't matter what color the powder is, it's supposed to glow green. So you can add it to stains or varnishes or shellacs or anything like that that you can use, and you want to try to use something that's semi-transparent, because the more, of course, if you're using a paint, you're not going to really allow the powder to be able to get the sunlight that it needs in order to glow in the dark. So I added the green, and as you see here, as you look inside, and you can see it really good here where I mixed it first. So I poured the rest of the shellac that I had, I poured it into this container, I added the powder, I mixed it up, and then I poured it back in here because I knew that I was going to have a lot left over, and if it turns out real good, I may do some other things that I want that are going to be outside for the shellac. So there's a full good view of the picnic bench project. Hey everybody, back. So those were the various projects of different people. If you have a project that you would like me to report on, please by all means just let me know and I will get it on there. So we're going to move to the beer section. Oh, by the way, I also put in, as you saw there, I put in the total of how much the bench project cost. Now, of course, this is my own labor. So for those of you who may, want to take on a DIY project like this, you certainly can. So Lowe's, I'm sure Home Depot, I'm sure every other hardware store is selling the picnic benches. They were on sale like 119 plus tax, which is 133. And you saw the various stains. Now, of course, the stains, 3 of those stains I already had. So even though I put down $8, which is an estimate, um, I'll get more use out of it. So it's not a full, if you're trying to figure out the ROI, or you're trying to figure out the actual retail value of all this, or the whole value cost of it for yourself. That's why I put the full price there. But I have plenty more stain in all of those cans, and so I will be able to use them on various other projects. Now the shellac was already pretty much done when I started using it for this project. So as you saw there's maybe a couple of inches left of it in the can, and now it's glowing the dark green. So if it actually glows in the dark, then I'll be able to use that to put some more stuff, a couple more coats on stuff that I have in the yard, and protect it, and maybe it'll glow green as well. Okay, so you saw all that. It was about $185, I believe. Plus, I put question mark for the glow in the dark powder because I don't remember what I paid for it, and it turns out I probably had it about 3 or 4 years. So I don't know if the efficacy of the powder goes down with time. Again, we'll see and find out. But you don't have to have that powder in there. of course, and you can stain it whatever you want. As you see, for me, I went purple, blue, and then the dark with dark red mahogany for my bench. So you do whatever colors you like. And by the way, I've already had 3 people come by and take a look at it. One of them actually came by on his bicycle and just asked me how I did what I did, like how, what did I do. Um, and so I thought that was pretty cool. So people like to see DIY projects, especially during the time of this COVID. So about $185. It took me last weekend probably about, I don't know, probably, I want to say maybe 6, 7 hours of labor, of keeping having the table upside down, sanding it, just a light sand. I used 110 grit sandpaper, sanded it all down underneath, and then I did the different stains on there with sanding in between each coat, and everything has at least 3 coats. I think the purple I may have done 4 coats, but sanding between each coat. Light sand with 220, and then wipe it down, and then apply another coat. So I did all that last weekend, so about 6, 7 hours, let's say 7 hours. And then this weekend, I started it on uh, Friday. I started a little bit of it, but not much. And I really did a lot of it on Saturday and then this morning. So let's say probably another 7 hours. So you got about 14 hours of work ahead of you if you want to do that. And again, this was by myself. So if you have a helper, maybe it cuts the time. I don't know. It just depends on how you divide the labor up and who does what. So for those of you who may not know, you want to let the stain totally dry before you apply the next coat. So you make sure everything's nice and dry. Oh, I forgot, I also put on the pre-stain conditioner like I talk about in the videos. So pre-stain conditioner seems to help out, at least for the projects I've done, where it closes up the pores of the wood a little bit, because when you're sanding, you're opening up the pores a little bit more than is normally when you already have a cut piece of wood. The pre-stain has a tendency to close up some of those pores so that you can see more of the grain. And so if you have something that's grainy, then you might want to do something like this. This bench, by the way, is Southern Pine, and it seems to take the stains really well. And I've worked with Southern Pine in the past, and I've worked with some birch, and I've worked with some other things, and they seem to take it real well. I haven't really come across anything that doesn't take the stain well, plus the pre-stain conditioner as well. So everything pretty much, just remember sand, 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 sand. So if you have the time and you want to put multiple layers, you definitely got to sand between each layer to really buff it up. Like kind of almost like well, it's just like anything else. You're sanding it so that you apply another, you make it more, the surface more open to accept more of whatever you're using, in this case, stain. And so I did that. I also do the same thing with the shellac. It recommends highly that you do that. Now the shellac's a little bit different. It applies just like it would on a stain. It looks kind of milky white in the can, and that's because it's condensed and dense in there. But once you apply it, if you're applying it right, you apply that first coat and you barely can even see that it's on there. You might see a little bit more when you see the second coat, but it dries clear, so you would not have that problem. Now with the shellac, I keep saying shellac because I'm used to saying shellac, but it's called Spar Urethane. You can call it what you want. Um, and this product is specifically for being outside. So you want to make sure that if you're going to have something outside, that you get Spar Urethane or its equivalent, whatever you have in your area, or shellac, which I don't even know if they still sell shellac anymore. But anyway, you want something that's for outside, that's like basically for weatherproofing. You don't want to use polyurethane, which is more for the inside. And I've made that mistake in the past. And the polyurethanes, at least the one I used, yellow when they're outside because that sunlight just starts degrading it in some way, and so you get a yellow appearance to it. Now, it may do this with the spar urethane, but I think it takes a bit longer. So, spar urethane. Okay, so you sand in between, but now with the spar urethane, you're supposed to apply a coat, go at least 2 hours before you apply a light sanding and apply the second coat. Now, it may feel dry to you on there, but you really want to go the 2 hours. You really want to let that like soak in, so to speak, and let it get in there and let it do its job. So you go about 2 hours, or you go 2 hours, sand it, wipe it down, just a light sand, probably a 220. That's what I used. Then you apply a second coat, and again, you let this go 2 hours. Sand it again, wipe it down, apply, and they highly recommend, it says on their can like 2 or 3 times, 3 coats to do it well. So you sand again, apply that third coat, and now they say for this third coat, let it cure for 24 hours. So don't sit on it, don't put stuff on there, don't do anything else other than just let it cure out in the wild. So that's what I'm doing. I'm letting it go. I got that third coat on. Hopefully we'll see we get some glowing going on there. But it is a done deal. What I also did for those of you who may be following this for, not instruction, so to speak, but just tips and tricks. What I also did is to protect the feet of the bench, I had some felt material that I had, which I know it felt in the wild is not that great, but I'm not planning on moving it around a lot, so I'm just trying to save the legs as long as possible. I say the feet because it is the bottom part of it. So I put the felt on there, which had an adhesive on it. And I know the adhesive out in nature doesn't always last as well, so I nailed them in there with little tiny nails, just enough so that they'll stay. So that's another handy tool. Plus, if you're going to put it on a deck, or you're going to put it out on, like, say, stained concrete or something like that, you don't want to scratch up a thing. And if you're dragging that thing around, you're only gonna possibly scratch whatever surface you're on, but you're also going to start giving some wear and tear on the legs. And I did stain the feet, and I did spar urethane the feet as well, so to protect them as much as I could. Okay, so there's a wrap up of the bench project. I hope you enjoyed looking at it and watching me go through the whole process as much as I enjoyed doing it, and I really enjoy doing projects like this. So I still have a couple other projects in the works, but now we're going to move over to the beer section. So this is where I lose a lot of people. So bye. I swear you turn it off, and you're like, I'm not a beer person. I don't care. But I have some interesting things to say today about it. Popped up on my Google feed. I hope it doesn't set off my phone on that. But it popped up, and about someone called the Beer Baron and his list of the 10 best beers that he's done over the past 10 years. Now, get this. He's done, according to him, 419 beer reviews in the past 10 years. For those of you who want to think about it, that's approximately 41.9 beer reviews a year for 10 years. Let me get that other hand in there. 10 years. Now, I have, from what I can tell from the approximation of having a beer review almost every episode last season, and almost every episode this season. And it's not just beer, by the way. I'm not a snob like the Beer Baron. I do beers and ciders, and and even some of the hard coffee and the hard seltzers and stuff like that. So, but in this time, I've done approximately 148 beer reviews, and that is only in approximately 1 year and 1 month. So in 13 months, I've done 148 beer reviews. beer type reviews. Let's just say adult beverage review. So take that, beer baron. I think it's a little weak sauce, in my opinion. The beer baron calling himself a beer baron, one, and two, doing 419 beer reviews in 10 years. I did 100 before we even started this podcast. 100. So I know I've been slacking, but now I feel a little bit like of a challenge from that beer baron out there. Challenge accepted. I have thrown down the gauntlet. I will now be making sure that I have a different beer every episode from now until I end this podcast, which hopefully will go on for quite some time. And I feel challenged. I feel energized now to make sure that I will continue with this podcast. And though I do not want to be called the beer baron, I do want to see if I can get a friendly rivalry going with the beer baron, as I think 41.9 beer reviews a year out of 365 days, a little weak. It's kind of a weak sauce on there. Obviously, he's not going to places like the Boutique, who has a lot of beer. And I know personally, I can sit there with my brother and we can probably hit 5 or 6 beers a night. So I'm also going to try to continue my beer labels. And so I will be collecting beers again and cutting them out and getting the labels so that I can make another beer board like I did and I showed y'all last week. Okay, so enough of throwing the gauntlet down. You see how I did that? You see how I did that? Okay, so, all right, so now I'm going to hit this one again. This is 12.5's Rebel Hard Coffee series. This is their, it says here, drink different. For those who seek experience over ordinary, 12.5's Rebel satisfies the senses with the spirit to keep things social. Dangerously delicious with a creamy blend of Colombian coffee and indulgent flavors that takes you to the fringes of extraordinary. There's a little rebel in all of us. So that's kind of perfect. That's perfect to be be a rebel, especially when it comes to the beer baron and his weak sauce 41.9 beer reviews. Yes, I'm going to keep saying that to see if it actually something gets back to the beer baron, and then we can certainly have him on the show. I think that would be awesome. Okay, so here is 12.5's Rebel Hard Coffee series. This is their vanilla latte, which is a malt beverage with natural flavors and 100% Arabica coffee. I used to love that back in the 70s and 80s where they would talk about Arabica beans. And they would say it like that, like it's some sensual thing. So, all right, so here is here it is, vanilla latte. I know it's kind of mirrored. Let me see if I can get the on there. It's a little grainy from what I can tell, but there's the Arabica coffee. And so we're going to give it a shot because we don't play favorites and we're not biased here against non-beer beverages. We do a lot of beer here. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there's going to be a lot of beer going on here. But we also do a lot of everything else, especially the shiders. I might even be hitting another shidery here in a couple weeks. My brother Robert just saw that there was another cidery that is back open, so we'll be hitting that. So here's the hard coffee. It's definitely a latte. Let's put it that way. You wouldn't confuse this as a beer. Let's put it that way. This is definitely a hard coffee. I wish I would have kept one of those hazelnut cookies that I had. That would have been perfect to just dip in here right here. Even though this is cold and not hot, I still think it would go well with the vanilla because hazelnut, by the way, hazelnut syrup and vanilla syrup, especially at Starbucks, I don't know about anywhere else, is what their French vanilla is. So if you go into Starbucks or you go somewhere where they have French vanilla, it's basically hazelnut syrup and vanilla syrup. So just a quick little fun history fact for you there. So if you want to go next time, go to Mojo Coffee or go somewhere else, you can certainly ask them to add a little hazelnut to your vanilla latte, and you have a French vanilla latte. So that's always fun. So here we go. Here is the hard coffee. This is their vanilla latte. Let's give it a try. I like it. I like it. To me, I haven't had any alcoholic beverages today, so I'm not sensing a lot of um, alcohol in this. I know it says it is, but it's really not. I like it though. I think it's good. Says it's good over ice. I think it'd be perfect over ice. I think it'd be great to. It's only a 5 ABV, by the way, so maybe that's why I can't taste it because I've been hitting the hard stuff higher up, the last couple of weeks. But here we go. That's 12.5's Rebel Hard Coffee Series. This is their vanilla latte. I'm gonna give this out of 10 thumbs up. I'm gonna give this an 8 thumbs up. So 8 thumbs up for 12.5's Hard Coffee Series, their vanilla latte. Okay, so that's the beer portion of the show. I want to thank everybody who's made it this far. Hopefully, I didn't lose too many people. Hopefully, I didn't just have people start at the beer section. But whatever floats your boat, however you want to get here, you're here. I appreciate you. Um, Real quick, I had a YouTuber meeting that we meet through nextdoor.com. Cynthia E was kind enough to run it, and she is in charge of the YouTuber group on nextdoor.com. And we had a great meeting. It was just the two of us, unfortunately. Some other people couldn't make it. But we got to, gab a little and shoot the breeze about um, how to do podcasts. So now Cynthia does Love and Data, and you can find her on YouTube as well. If you want to subscribe to her, she does videos specifically for technology. I know she's working. She's got some things in the work, and so when she gets everything up and running and smooth, I will have her on the show, and then we will talk a little bit about her site and what brought her to that site. So had a great time. Very interesting. We talked a little bit about how I do things, how she does things, why I do it, why she does it. And so if you're interested in joining the group, you can get onto nextdoor.com and look for YouTubers, and you can look for me as well. And you can find me there, and we will converse, and you can jump on. Even if you're not a YouTuber and you're not thinking about starting a podcast, it's a good little group on there that talks about things. And if you have an interest, you can certainly join us in our Zoom meetings. Now, if you are someone who's thinking about doing a podcast, you're like, well, Javier can do it. If Javier can do it, then anybody in the world can do it, because that boy just. Well, you're right. You're totally right. I am not the most elegant speaker on here. I am not the most tech savvy person, though I do work in the tech field. But doing a podcast is something I've always wanted to do, and I started doing it. And COVID was the perfect time to do it. So it's something that you want to do. Join us, and we can help you to get started. We'll find out what you're passionate about. I love to talk, and I love to talk to people. So I love to talk about what they're passionate about. So I find it interesting to meet people that way and to get to know them better. So again, if you're interested in doing a podcast, or you're passionate about something and you want to come on my show, just let me know. So you can join the group and find out more, or you can just direct message me and I can get you on the show. Um, that's it for the show this week. I know it's probably a little bit longer than I've done lately. I appreciate you staying with me, though. And I hope you make it to the next podcast, where I will continue to have projects. I'm still looking for a guest host. Maybe I can get Cynthia or somebody on here. Then we can have a dialogue going, so it's not just me sitting here in front of the camera. I'm always looking for people to interview. No religion, no politics. Everything else is a go. So just direct message me, and we can talk about things. I think I'm gonna maybe talk a little bit about nostalgia. If I can, I'm gonna try to get some photos of the schools that I went to when I was a kid. Let's see what happens in the next couple of weeks, if I can pull that off or not. So I hope you've been enjoying the podcast. I hope you've been enjoying the weather. It rained a little bit earlier this week here in Texas, but it's been fantastic this weekend. In the 70s, no higher yesterday. It's in the 80s today, but you know what? For a Texan, 80s is might as well be in the 50s. It's nice. It's great. It's perfect weather. There's a ton of people out there. So enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Enjoy your week. And I will be back again next week with more exciting projects. Hopefully, some other people besides this ugly mug, and other things as well, and always some beer because I'm not weak sauce and I do more than 41.9 beer reviews a year. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot. I'll talk to you and see y'all later. Bye now.